Hello, everybody. Sorry I'm running late today. I worked out of town, and so the normal hour and a half commute took me a little bit longer because, of course, I had to hit road work. And then after the road work is a hill, so all the semi trucks are going super, super slow. So sorry for being late. So I just wanted to come on here. I had made a post today in my Facebook group and stuff about forgiveness being the most important gift you can give yourself. And I am sure that there's probably people out there that, don't have stuff from their past that they need to forgive themselves for. But I know that the majority of people do, and that's something I struggled with. And I have to say that since I decided that I had to forgive myself, that has been probably the most important thing that's transformed my life and worked on, helping me become who I am. If you read my Facebook post today, you probably see that some of the things that I used to beat myself up for was, the toxic relationships that I was in, some of the abuse that my kids have gone through. Hello, Melissa. Some of that stuff that, the abuse that I went through, like I felt complete guilt for putting my kids through some of the stuff. And even years after being away from that, I still would beat myself up for it. And, I had to work a lot as a single parent. And so when I first moved back to my hometown, I worked, 2 hours away. And so I was gone a lot, and I would beat myself up for that. Like I was, every little thing, like I didn't feel like I was a good enough parent. Hello, Ran. Haven't seen you forever. Glad you're here. So I would beat myself up for everything. I would beat myself up for not being a good enough parent, not being stable enough, not being financially set. And some of that had to do with the toxic relationships, making me feel like that. Even with my mom, like she would make me feel that I wasn't as good as my brother. So I would beat myself up for everything. And I got to a point where I realized that I needed to forgive myself because it wasn't serving any purpose, and it was keeping me feeling stuck. I was feeling stuck in the fact that I had that negativity, and I felt like I was always living in the past. And welcome, Sharon. I felt like I was living in the past, and I had to get over that. So one thing that really worked for me, and to me is a great tool, is to sit down and take some time and write a letter of forgiveness to yourself. That really helped me, is that I just took some time. I went into a quiet room, like a meditation kind of area. I love yoga, so I have my little area that I have. And I just sat down with pen and paper and wrote a letter of forgiveness to myself. I wrote out everything, and stuff that I, don't even always like talking about. And it was a safe place. Like it's not something that anybody else has to see. It's not even something I have to talk about with anybody else. But I knew that I had to get that out, and I needed to let myself go. I mean, you hear all the time that people talk about forgiving others, maybe not forgetting, but forgiving others. Well, more importantly, before you forgive everybody else that does things wrong to you or does things to you, is you have to forgive yourself. Because you're the person you live with. You see yourself every day. You live with yourself every day. So it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter, but it doesn't matter if you forgive, the person down the street that did something to you. You don't have to most of the time interact with those people. You can choose to walk away, but you can't walk away from yourself. You're stuck with yourself. You have to live with yourself. So instead of, living your life hating the person that you are, and it was everything. I mean, I hated the way I looked. There were so many things I hated about myself, but a lot of it stemmed from the forgiveness that I wasn't giving myself for what I felt like I was lacking. And, it doesn't mean that, some of the things that I did, I couldn't have done better. There are certain areas I can always improve. And, I was in those bad relationships, and I can't change that. So instead of dwelling on it, I had to forgive it and let it go. So I wrote a letter. I wrote a letter out to myself, and I took it and I kept it for a while, and I would read it every time I felt down, I would just read it and reminding myself that, you know what, you have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself. And once I got to that point where I felt like I had pretty much forgiven myself, then I took the letter and I tore it up and I threw it away. And I was like, that's it. I'm done with it. I absolve myself of everything that I've done. These are my sins that I felt like I had done, and I'm letting them go. I've forgiven myself and I let them go. And to me, that was a very releasing moment once I got to that point. And, there's still things that come up that, I kick myself over once in a while, but it's not to the point where I hate myself so much. That's something that I just always, I just had to let go. And so it was something that was super important to me. And once I did that, it kind of opened the gates to working on myself in other areas, and moving forward. And, I feel like I can't help anybody else if I'm beating myself up. So how am I going to be of service to them? And I'm super passionate about what I'm doing right now. And I'm super passionate of helping other women, especially women in toxic relationships. But I can't help them if I'm beating myself up every day, because I don't want them to do that. I'm going to tell them, you have to let it go. You can't beat yourself up. You've got to use it and move on. So if I'm telling other women to do that, what area can I have to move on, and I have to do it for myself, because you're no good to anybody else if you don't fix yourself first. And so, that's my big thing today, is that I really want people to forgive themselves for things that they've done. Sometimes it's easier to forgive other people, but you really need to forgive yourself first and not blame yourself for stuff that's happened to you. Oftentimes we have things that happen to us in our lives that aren't in our control, but we blame ourselves first. Oh, I shouldn't have put myself in that situation. Oh, I shouldn't have done that, or I shouldn't have done that. So we have to forgive ourselves for those, because a lot of times those are nothing that we could have changed, but it's easier to be mad at ourselves. And so that's where some of that forgiveness comes in too, is not even for things that you may have done, it's just for those things that, you blame yourself for. So yeah, I hope you guys all can, if you're in that spot, write that letter and, forgive yourself. And like I said, that will make you, I think, happier and be more positive. And I hope everybody has a great day. And again, sorry for being late. Gotta love road work. I will talk to you guys all later.